Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike Glover here, Fieldcraft Outpost. Welcome to my crib. We're gonna do a video on the Dbag. The Dbag is disaster or deployment. Deployment is like an offensive action. We're going into something, right? Disaster is we are prepared for that worst case scenario before it happens. Now, a lot of you guys know if you're in Utah, Colorado, and you're just watching the news, this place is burning to the ground. In 24 hours, we had 17 fires. There are 35,000 plus wildfires right now across the country this season alone. 70% of those started by dudes making mistakes. So this idea is, it is very different than a go bag. It's very different than this idea of having a speedball that I talk about on my Patreon, which is linked down below. I need a bag staged with a whole bunch of stuff that is going to act as the bridge to sustain my survivability from the crisis, the catastrophe, to a better place. You could call that a bug out. You could call that whatever you want, whatever you're into. But the bottom line is, like, it's going to bridge the gap between bad and better. The start point to this is I'm going to walk you through my process. I have a cluster F of crap everywhere. I've got a shipping container just full of crap. I have a whole bunch of vehicles. I've down selected the CJ8 Scrambler for this adventure, and we're gonna go shopping in my own home to pull things together. I also am gonna incentivize you by linking down my Patreon for a free PDF of just a checklist of the basics. And when I say basics, I mean the core curriculum. Everything else is augmented based on your lifestyle, your family size, your environment. You gotta add stuff, and I'll walk you through that because I gotta add stuff myself, like diapers, because babies apparently need diapers. All right, here we go. If I'm looking at this vehicle, why have I selected this vehicle? Well, one, it's nice outside, and I have the top popped, right? This is my CJ8 Scrambler, but it's very off-road capable. It has twin sticks, I can lock the diffs, and it will facilitate all of my family during a bug out circumstance. Actually, I'm lying, because this only takes 4 people. I actually have 4 kids and a wife. So if I'm looking at that, that's a lot of people. So if I don't have my kids that week, then this is the vehicle I'm bugging out with. If it's not, well, it's very simple. I just take the Dbag and I put it in my Raptor, and that's the one I use, okay? So down select a vehicle that has a few things. One, it has ground clearance. I need ground clearance because if I need to hop a curb because everybody else is on the highway and they're grid locking it, I don't want to die in my vehicle during a 24 to 48 hour block in a snowstorm. That actually happened in New York. I want enough clearance with the tire size and the off-road suspension to be able to get over basic obstacles. And no offense to you, because you might have a Civic hatchback like this. Yeah, not a lot of ground clearance and probably going to die in traffic. Gridlock with everybody else. Super cool. I mean, it was cool when I was a kid, guys. I'm actually going to rebuild this with my son because it's super fun. And it's a B16 swapped, which I think is cool. Another thing I want is low capacity. Now, this is the CJ8 Scrambler, which is like the long version of the CJ5 and CJ7. This gives me more low capacity for a whole bunch of junk. Like, there's a whole bunch of crap already in here, right? I want low capacity. Now, what's interesting about this vehicle is it doesn't have a lot of low capacity weight-wise. Your Dbag should not weigh a lot. Now, my F350 tucked behind the tree has a 3,500 pound low capacity. I just need a lot of space to bug out with my family. That capacity is the extension of your rucksack. I've said that for a decade. I should trademark it or something. You have certain amount of capacity. In these Fall Raven pants, which are super fancy, a lot of pockets for a lot of goodies. If I have an extension of that in my vehicle, you have the space. Why not fill that space with the appropriate thing? That's what he said. Lastly, I have certain accessories that are gonna benefit me in this long haul breaking contact from the X. Certain accessories that I need. Lights, KC highlights made in the 80s, which I prefer, 1984. An old winch. This is a dual force HP power plant made by Warren that includes an air compressor and a synthetic lined roped winch. I spend more time recovering motorcycles off of the edge of cliffs than I do recovering myself, But you get the point. Accessories are important to have on this vehicle. There's a ton of them. We talk about them all the time, but that's something that you could add. Let's take it inside. Let's go shopping. All right, guys, excuse the mess. I'm remodeling in here. And there's always going to be a cluster of crap. I have a lot of stuff. And the first thing I'm considering in the Dbag is the bag itself. You need to be selective about the bag. I'm not trying to push a bag on you. I actually don't have a bag for sale. There are plenty of bags to get, but there are plenty of bags to not use. This is the bag I've down selected for the D. The reason being is because, one, I have straps to load bear. If you pack, like me, a whole bunch of stuff for your family, then you're going to need the ability to carry it on your back the long haul. If you don't have the ability to load bear it because you just have these straps and you're carrying it like this, you're going to be immobilized. You still need to be able to protect your family. And that means having the ability to load bear. So have at least shoulder straps on this bag. Another thing is capacity. If I compare that to this Vertex bag, which is high speed, it looks beautiful, that tropical camo. I love this bag, really cool. But this would be a bag like by myself. If I was like a lone wolf and was a lonely guy, for sure this would get it done. But because I have 4 children, me and the spouse, and a dog, I need to have more load capacity. The idea of a Dbag is I need to be able to think that I'm potentially going to carry this on my back for a long period of time, a minimum of 72 hours. If that's the case, I don't need a 100-pound rucksack. So now I have to think through it and go, ooh, what are the elements of this that I need that are going to be lighter weight? Maybe I don't need a Starlink Mini with a lithium battery. Maybe I can get away with a power bank and a couple electronic devices, cell phones, inReach, etc. Let's go ahead and break it open and do a little shopping. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with first aid, because first aid's first in my mind. Something that I am gonna throw in the back of my rig that I really have never carried before, but I wanna have on hand just in case, is a Polis litter. What's a Polis litter? A Polis litter is something that you use to carry casualties. I hate to even think about that. But the reality is, if it's just you and the wife and you take casualties, somebody gets injured, you're going to have to take them out of harm's way. And if the only option is to throw them on your back, that's going to be very difficult. Remember, no one really is going to come to save you, especially in a catastrophe. We're actually a 4 out of 5 on a scale of danger because all the wildland firefighters are all over this state and Colorado fighting fires. And that means that if a fire starts in Heber Valley, where I live in Heber City, there's not going to be a lot of resources, including EMT, EMS professionals that are coming to save you. Take any disaster, there's a focus on the disaster. Everything else is just not a priority. You get in a car accident during a hurricane, guess what? Nobody cares. Get your vehicle off the side of the road and deal with it later. The priority is going to be the catastrophe. So you have to be able to take care of your own. Now, this isn't part of my Dbag. This is just an augmentation. I love that word, augmentation. So one of the first things I do is grab a first aid kit. This is bundled with all the things that my family needs. Now, this is a pretty big IFAC, right? Not for individual first aid, but for family first aid. So there's redundancy built in this. Instead of one tourniquet, you have multiple. Instead of just the idea that I'm stopping the bleed, I might want Band-Aids and bacitration. I might want more nitrile gloves for me and my spouse. I might want antibiotics. This is where I would put a lot of those type of things. If you have penicillin, if you have amoxicillin, keep it on the shelf and then put some in the bag pre-staged for that worst case scenario. I have power banks kind of pre-staged already. Why do you need power banks? Well, you need power banks to provide power for the things that you have that you're using as life-saving tools. If I have a Garmin inReach, you better have spare batteries for that. If I have anything that plugs USB, USB-C, I'm gonna have the right lithium battery that provides that power to that accessory because I need to extend it. A minimum, guys, of 72 hours. Let's go upstairs and get some clothes. A lot of people don't think about clothes, but clothes is important. Why? I want my kids to be comfortable. In my go bag, like 72-hour go bag, I might have an extra pair of socks, but I don't need an extra set of pajamas for my kids. But in this type of situation for a disaster, you might be living out of a hotel for weeks until everything is fixed. I like everybody seeing my house so they could do CQB on it when they kick in my front door. So at Long Haul Supply, I'm coming up with an actual 60-liter D-bag that has a divider and 2 separate segments. The reason I want to do that is because it's typically his and hers and the kids. If you're all piling it in here, that's completely fine. None of this needs really ready access, except for first aid. So put first aid on top, which is why at Fieldcraft Survival, we designed this to where, oh, I need a first aid kit, I can grab the IFAK and rip it off to treat the casualty, ready access. But most of this isn't ready access. So it's just stuff piled together. But dividing it separates it, which is why I designed it. So I'm gonna take some underwear, like now you know my underwear drawer. If you ever come in my house and break in, you know exactly where it's at. I can't believe I'm giving away these secrets. A couple shirts. Another thing that I wanna think about is documents. I'm not gonna show you my safe because I actually don't wanna show you my safe, but I have passports, birth certificates, social security cards, even basic things like pictures of your children. Take that. What I'm saying is, I want you to create a formula where you can grab this D-bag pre-staged in 30 seconds. Because if there's a wildfire on the hill, they're gonna send out an alert. If you're lucky, if you're paying attention and you're not doom scrolling Instagram, you're gonna get an alert to your phone. When that alert comes in, it's gonna be one or two things. There's an impending fire and you need to evacuate now, or this is just preliminary, there is a fire, just be aware. Guess what? I'm bugging out either way. And if I bug out because there's a grass fire, nothing to be concerned about, I'm bugging out immediately. While everybody else is going, oh man, we should probably think about this. I mean, I could see the hill, it's on fire. Hey babe, you think we should get some stuff together? Yeah, maybe. I'm already on the road filling up at the gas station. Another rule number 2, is always keep your fuel tank above half a tank. That's in most vehicles a couple 100 miles. That's enough distance to create space away from the catastrophe. If you get in your vehicle because you're like, we're so squared away, we watched Fieldcraft Outpost and we pay attention to Mike Glover, we read the book Prepared, a manual for surviving worst case scenarios, and you get in the vehicle and it's on empty, and then you go to the gas station and there's a line, or you go to the gas station and worse yet, the power's out and there's no fuel supplied because it depends on power to pump the fuel into your vehicle. Well, that's a problem. So get ahead of it. Those are just 2 rules to live by. All right, so simulating documents, passports, important documents, pictures of the kids, pictures of your dog, all that stuff, your kids' pajamas, baby items like diapers. I don't even know what it is. I did a podcast this morning and there's like this cream that you put on your kids' butts, prevents chafing. I don't want to say it because I'm not sponsored by it. Maybe we could pick up a baby cream sponsor. You don't want to forget things like that. Again, in a go bag, or a speedball that's a tactical upgrade, you're not really thinking about that stuff. Like, why would I need a kid's book and a stuffed animal in my D-bag? Well, because D-bag, I shouldn't be so rude. You shouldn't be thinking about this like it's short term. This is not a self-defense scenario. This scenario is you thriving on the bridge from bad into better. So while your children are freaking out because they're like, Daddy, what's going on? I'm scared. And you put the book, the stuffed animal, or the iPad in front of them, they're not focused on the chaos around them. That's your actual, literal job. Dad actual. I got a buddy who started that organization. All right, let's go. Let's go outside. Let me do a little bit of something en route. One, I'm gonna plug some of my sponsors because they support the channel, and you should support them too, but I have a real bad habit, and I'll tell you what it is. It's meat sticks. Wasatch Wagyu, the best meat sticks on the planet, all right? I eat really clean, and I could pick up a bag of chips and house it. But I want to eat clean, so this is the option. I don't want a meal ready to eat in this bag. Your go bag might have camp food or an MRE. I want actual edible food that I enjoy. Primal Power Bars. Get 211%, is it 211? God, I'm good. Of B12 from beef liver. I know what you're thinking. Beef liver is disgusting. Yoshi, just try a bite of this. Just one bite. Is that good?
Not bad.
I told you, it's gonna be delicious. Beef liver, which is gonna be healthy, fueling your family. You need fuel, you don't need garbage. I promise you, if you eat a meal ready to eat, you're not going to poop for a week. By the time you do poop, the disaster's all over with. Lastly, I'm gonna grab some Carnivault, freeze-dried, 25-year shelf life, and what I had for breakfast this morning, with eggs. Why? Because it keeps, and it's something that you can fuel your family with the cleanest meat in the country. It's literally chicken breast, beef, and pork made in America, farm raised even, that's not even what you say. It's like grass-fed raised. Regardless, you know what I'm talking about. You put her in the bag too. Can you fit in that D-bag?
Oh, look what I'm holding.
We've done too much upselling and we're shilling too much. Oh, by the way, she's gonna do a collaborative video with her channel and Fieldcraft Outpost on considerations for packing out her disaster bag for kids especially. Her disaster bag is going to be very different than yours, right? Family considerations are a lot different. And all you single guys, it's easy. Just get a fanny pack and call it a day. All right, let's go outside and get this vehicle. All right, guys, so I'm in front of the rig again, and we're going through and just loading this thing out. Look, a lot of this is disheveled because I'm just giving you broad information. If you want the distilled information, go to my Patreon, get that free PDF, and look at the distilled education. In fact, I'm filming a segment on first aid and individual things that I'll carry and why it differs. The regular world is not full of operators, and the disasters that you run into, the accidents you run into, are gonna require different types of first aid gear. So this is an old first aid kit from Fieldcraft Survival. We're gonna be redoing first aid kits. This mobility version I would have in my rig. Again, not in the D-bag. The D-bag is very specific. This is a rain poncho that acts as a shelter. This also acts as a way to keep your core body temperature warm. I'm throwing that in the bag as well, all right? So let me pop this in all its capacity and show you a few of the things that I'm gonna include. Everybody has their stuff nice and neat. I'm packing out my D-bag because I need to be prepared for these wildfires or just any natural disaster. And a lot of this stuff, because I don't feel like paying a lot of money for every single setup, I had to pull out of my RV, I had to pull out of the house, I had to pull out of the shop, and we're consolidating it. Cool thing about this is I'll get it all in the bag, I'll lay it all out, we'll go over it with my wife and the checklist, and we'll identify deficiencies and augment anything that we're missing. It's like going to the grocery store with my kids. They just start throwing stuff in the cart, and then when I get to checkout, I feel really bad about this, I'm emptying about a quarter of it because a quarter of it is candy and toys. In my rig, I'm gonna carry an ARB dual air compressor. This is one of the best air compressors on the market. It has the hose accessories. I actually just used this recently on a recovery, but you might wanna think about something like this. Now, this is dual redundancy because I have one on the front end. If you don't have one, pick one up. So this is a thing that I carry with my kids often when we're overlanding or off-roading. If you think about navigation, most of us use Garmin's. In fact, I'm wearing this backcountry carrier, which is available for an additional 20% off for just this video. Get the coupon code down below and save 20% off. This is not for everyday use, like walking into a bank. Don't do that, please. This is for everyday use in the backcountry or in this type of circumstance. Why? There are some things I need ready access to. My Garmin, for example, my navigation device for this type of circumstance is here. Primary cell phone, contingency, Garmin. It's in here, it's readily accessible, including first aid, backcountry carrier, check it out below. I have things like a old Leupold compass, which I think is really cool. Look at that, antique. Oh, look at the needle. That direction's everywhere. Where are we going? We're going nowhere. And this is an antique, a gift that somebody gave me. Wow, bad example. A Leatherman multi-tool, right? Do I need this in my rig or do I need it in my D-bag? You need it in your D-bag. You need to have it on hand. So the idea is don't marry yourself to the rig. You might run out of gas, you might have to be on foot, and if you're crossing things over into your D-bag last minute, not a good look. So have the things that are mission essential for your D-bag in there. A multi-tool is one of them, made by Leatherman. Hoses, vehicle stuff, first aid, all staying in here. I got another first aid kit. Ooh, here's something that will definitely go in here. This is my MSR cooking kit. Have a cooking setup because, again, it weighs literally and practically nothing, but have the ability also to make fire. Ferro rods are cool. I love ferro rods. In fact, I'll show you the ones that I have. Very cool. I made them at Fieldcraft Survival. You know what's cooler than a ferro rod? A lighter. Just saying. I've had all the setups. The best thing that I've ever used in adaptability and modularity are plastic bins. I don't know who makes this plastic bin. I think I got it at Ace Hardware for a couple bucks. Oh, it's actually right. Action Packer Rubbermaid. The old Rubbermaid. The reason I like this, I also like Goose Gear, they're awesome, but I like this as well is because I could move them in between vehicles. This could be loaded up, very specific to go in between the RV and my Jeep. What I have in here, whole bunch of crap. Water purification. Yes, you need water in your Dbag. You need water on hand, but you also need water that you could filtrate. Having a whole bunch of iodine tablets with no way to contain the water, which a lot of people do for some reason, don't do that. Have the capacity to be able to get the water and then have the ability to sanitize it by pushing it through, which is like, you need to be like a power lifter to do this. By the time you get it closed, all the water that's in here, you burned off. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, you get the point. Filtration, sanitization, straight from stream into your gullet. Have one of those inside the Dbag. I'm gonna opt out on this. My Leatherman has a little hand tool. I carry this with camping with the kids, which is why it's in my Tupperware inside the back of my rig. It's a mobility option. Have it, but not in the Dbag. Bear mace, same deal. Another first aid kit. Man, I love first aid. Gloves. Now, a lot of guys will not have this, and that's a bad technique. You need gloves to take care of your hands because your hands will fall apart. It's not about being tough. The reality is the cracks and crevices of your skin with the lack of hygiene, because there will be a lack of hygiene for a period of time, will lead to secondary infections. Bacterial infections, cellulitis. You don't want those issues. Hygiene, keep your butt clean. Baby wipes, hand sanitizer, bacitration, and gloves. Definitely going in my Dbag. You definitely want a YouTube tape. You need this, because when the grid collapses and you don't have anything to listen to, you're also not gonna listen to this. This is a horrible album. Communications, it's a big one. We talked about it a little bit. Redundancy. You need to have the walkie-talkie capability. Have the ability to talk and pushing to talk line of sight. So your cell phone is not gonna work in the middle of nowhere. When the catastrophe hits and the power goes out, everything linear is going to be down. That's why SATCOMs, Starlink is so important. But again, that takes power. It requires a whole bunch of things. These POC LINK Ultras, I believe they are, radios, are one of the best finds I've found recently. I'll promote these down below because I recommend that you get them. These piggyback the LTE network, meaning that they have SIM cards in them that piggyback all of the carriers. So if you have Verizon like me and you're in an AT&T zone, guess what? You don't have reception, or you have minimal reception in America. Like what? These piggyback off those networks to be able to do push to talk. I could be in Africa. I don't know why I'd be in Africa. I'm not gonna be in Africa, but I could be in like Florida. I could push this radio, it goes beep, beep, and I go, hey babe, what's up? And she goes, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm pooping right now. I'm like, you're pooping. And we're talking on a push to talk nearly in real time. Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that pooping. But what you would do is piggyback the LTE network when you have it, and when you guys don't, you could use line of sight GMRS, like a walkie-talkie, which is awesome. Redundancy built in. The new version of this, which I think is called I think it may be the Ultra. Are these the Ultras? There's two variations of this. The other ones, the Ultras, use Wi-Fi as well. So if you have a Starlink active and somebody's on an LTE network and then you're on your Starlink in the middle of the woods, naked and afraid, you can still communicate back and forth. POC LINK radios, get them. They're made in China. But guess what? China doesn't care what you're talking about in the middle of the woods, especially when you're on the toilet talking to your wife. I added this here because it looks cool. If you grew up in Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, maybe California, parts of it, anywhere in rural America and there's trees, you carry one of these in your truck. Why? Because if there's a windstorm, like I went camping in my RV with the fam, and when we came back off the hill, because the windstorm happened the night before, there were trees in front of us. And I had to hatchet parts of a tree to get it out of the way. Luckily it was dead and it just fell over on the road, but you might want to carry one of these. I recommend Echo. It's one of my favorite companies. I should be sponsored, but I'm not. This is obviously not going in the Dbag and we're going here. There's even guys who do backcountry moto trips and carry these on their motorcycle. Not this big, they're carrying the small ones. Electric, I should do a whole episode. I'm gonna do it, Yoshi, we're gonna do that. A whole episode on comparing in a gear and review episode of the best chainsaws for backcountry travel, electric versus gas. You got it, I'm gonna do that. Also, I'll do a survey on the community post on what your favorite chainsaws are so we could distill the best versions of them. I have a lot of crap to add to this, but this would be a 2-hour video. What I've done is I'm using this, we call it top of funnel. And what that means is basically I'm broadly talking to you guys in education, and I do want you to come on my Patreon because I want you to support the channel. I'm not gonna have a Fieldcraft survival app. I'm just going to do education myself. I've learned that lesson. I'm going to do a lot of this heavy lifting by myself, but I've brought on a band of merry men, including guys like Clint Emerson. He will be doing content on Fieldcraft Outpost. Mason from Gun Fu Fighter, who's a tactical guru, been in SWAT longer than most of you have been alive. Really competent tactician. He will be on the channel as well. I will bring some good dudes on the channel. I'll also be doing stories of survival. In fact, I'm humbled to have the opportunity to tell this story. I'll be telling Joe Kent's wife's story that was lost in combat, Shannon. Shannon Kit, we're going to do a story of survival on her next week, as well as John Wayne Walding, a Green Beret from my era that lost his leg in a gunfight and continued to take it to the enemy, as well as Clint Emerson, a former Black Squadron DevGru operator. We're going to tell his story of survival. If you have any ideas for anybody who needs to get their story out, doesn't have to be military, doesn't have to be an operator, let us know at info@longhaulsupplycompany.com. You guys are the ones that motivate me to get off my butt and do this content, and I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Remember, God, family, prepping, in that order. Until next time, peace out, guys.